Okay, so this is a video game review for Gun for the PlayStation 2. This game was developed by Neversoft and released in 2005 towards the end of the PlayStation 2's life. It was also released on GameCube, Xbox, and Xbox 360. It's one of the most well-made games I've ever played, and while playing it through a second time, it was, as to be expected, not quite as enjoyable as the first time. I still was surprised by how flawless this game was. Now, just to be clear, when I say flawless, I mean there's no serious flaws running through the game, such as a lack of save options or a dodgy camera, only areas that it could slightly improve in. The game is an open-world adventure game set in the Wild West. As a subgenre of fantasy come history, I can't stand westerns. They've always come across in films, typically cliched and dull, but I'm a firm believer that a game that is well made and enjoyable can win over even the toughest critic and will make the player just put any preconceptions to the back of their mind, and that certainly happened with Gun, with me. The story I won't spoil, but simply say that it's a tale of greed, revenge, and finding oneself. The main character, Colton White, is the strong silent type, and a protagonist you can enjoy playing as. The game has tons of cutscenes, which always earns a game points with me, and the voice acting is some of the best I've ever heard in a game before, if not the best. As anyone who's ever watched a film or played a computer game with heavy narrative, and I'm guessing that's pretty much every listener here, if even one character is out of place or voiced badly, it can spoil the entire illusion. Gun is a game that has such well-scripted and animated cutscenes that it's like playing a really good film, but without the cutscenes ever getting excessive. There are a bunch of difficulty levels, but experienced players should really probably start on hard mode, especially if you're someone who likes a challenge in your game. Now, the game is made up of the story missions and side missions. There are dozens of side missions which involve you transporting goods, catching felons, or shooting gang members intent on causing havoc in their respective towns. These missions give pay in the form of stats, something that isn't really all that tangible in the game, but probably a nice psychological encouragement, and money, which can be used to buy upgrades such as extra health containers, faster reload times. There's also plenty of gold deposits dotted around the map for you to hunt down. A final mention with regards to the money matter should be given to the poker competitions, for as someone who just loves a good game of cards, even if it isn't for real money and is against a computer opponent. However, the downside to the poker tournaments or competitions is that there's only 3 games that you can actually play and win. Unfortunately, this is one area of the game where I think the developers should have actually given you more of a free hand and given you the opportunity to actually lose your money as well as win it, instead of getting the chance to replay it when you actually lost. The side missions are useful in beefing up Colton before the big showdown at the end of the game. The graphics in Gun are well done. The textures, sure, they can look a little bit blurry upon unforgiving inspection, but you'd never know it from the gorgeous environments and sunsets seen throughout this game. There's also plenty of blood, guts, and mutilation again, giving this game a really serious tone that is to be complimented. The map in Gun is very well designed to make use of all these wide open spaces. The game has 2 towns, and they're located at either extreme of the map, and the way the whole map is used to facilitate different parts of the game's story is great. For years, people who played games dreamt of games which could replicate huge cities or even worlds, but for me this issue of scale and size is nowadays too often taken as a challenge by developers who just look to create as elaborate a playing world as they possibly can, with scant regard for how long it takes the player to actually traverse it. The map in Gun is large enough to feel expansive and varied without being so bloated as to spend hours of tedious travel between different far-off points. And whenever we talk about open-world sandbox games, there's always one game that gets mentioned. Well, I'm not going to mention that game, but that series of games is one that's just very, very much guilty of this, of making their games way too big and long and really, really boring. Gun, its pathfinding is ridiculously simple. I've never had a problem getting where I needed to be while playing this game. Also, if you lose your horse, there are usually plenty of roaming ones to find, and the map in the bottom right is really easy to follow in missions. The mission objectives are so clear and helpful in reminding you, with near constant presence at the top of the screen, that I never really had moments where I thought, what am I meant to be doing, where am I meant to be going? And special characters or items in missions or side missions are helpfully highlighted. A really good example of this is during a side mission where you have 2 brothers to pursue. You have to kill one and capture the other, and they've both got the same second name, so you could actually mix them up quite easily if you just quickly read it. In other games you'd be expected to remember the names of it, and if it showed up over the thing, they'd remember which one you had to kill and capture. But in Gun, the developers made it that little bit easier for you by even putting in brackets next to each character as you kind of aimed at them. Kill in brackets or capture. When a game feels like its developers wanted you to sit back and really enjoy their game by thinking and remedying virtually every minor issue, then it's a very satisfying experience to play. Even the tutorials they're never overly long, and they're to the point, although I will say that the game does use plenty of buttons, so if you're someone who's used to playing games which only really rely on one or two main buttons, it may feel like overload, but for everyone else this game shouldn't be too taxing in the controls department. The game also features a quick draw mode which slows down time. It's a great addition to the game, even if it isn't the first game to use the mechanic. It's a game that is so much more fun for having this than it already is, and it's just another great small touch which, in addition to all those other great touches, just make this an absolutely fantastic game. In part 2 I'll be giving some more thoughts on the game, maybe some downsides to it, and my concluding thoughts.